Hi, I'm Chris Martinson of Peak Prosperity, and I am here with your update. Look, at the site right now, what we're discussing is what leads to revolution or social unrest. And that might sound like kind of an extreme topic, but it's not really, not when you explore the evidence of what history tells us about why you get revolutions, whether those revolutions happen with pitchforks and all of that violence, or whether it's a softer revolution where the old guard gets overturned. Charles Hugh Smith has got this wonderful two-parter, and he looks back at history, and he's done a lot of reading and thinking about this really important topic. And look, there's some common themes that arise. One is a gap between the wealthy and everybody else. Another is that the elites just lose touch with the common people. Is that a dynamic that we see right now? Well, I don't know how you look at the current landscape of the United States presidential election without coming to the conclusion that the elites in Washington, D.C., and all of the press that's there supporting that structure, they've totally lost touch with enough people that they can't even begin to wrap their heads around what's actually happening politically in the landscape. And so that just speaks to the dynamic at play. Listen, humans have been here many, many times before. We're here again. It's one of those things, right? So there's clear pressures now for all sorts of upheavals. We need a revolution in thinking. We need a revolution in our overall thought processes as a species on this planet. We need to start leading from our heart again, not from our brains, not about money, it's not about power, it's not about ego. It's about how do we really bring our best selves into this world to get what we can out of this experience in life. This is really, we're at the juncture now of really big moves that are transpiring. So maybe you don't feel comfortable with how the world is unfolding. Maybe you know somebody who doesn't feel comfortable. Maybe you feel the anxiety around you, right? These are very, very interesting times to be alive. There's a chance for disruption, but there's also the chance to break through and create something more out of what's going to come next. But first, the old guard has to relinquish its grasp on power because it's lost its way. It's lost touch with humans. It's lost touch with life itself. It's lost touch with the things that are truly important on this planet. And so this is something that we're exploring now at the site at Peak Prosperity. And listen, whether I look across the pond and I look at Europe, or I see what's happening in China, or I score what's happening here in the United States, or what's happening down in Latin America, South America, look, there's plenty of evidence out there that the old way isn't working. What there's no evidence for is that the powers that be have any clue why the old way isn't working anymore. Look, you know and I know that it's impossible to run $200 trillion of debt-burdened global economy on $100 oil, so that didn't work out. And we equally know that you can't run an oil company on $30 a barrel oil. So that whole system is breaking and reforming, and there's a lot of chaos around it. And the only thing our central banks seem to know how to do is to continually print more money, or promise to print more money, or do anything they can to just create this illusion of printing. My advice at this point in time is do not pay attention to what the headline stock indexes are doing for your frontline information. By the time those are reacting, damage has already been done. Now look, one of our philosophies at Peak Prosperity is that we watch from the outside in, meaning we're looking at the periphery of any system we're looking at for the clues that are going to tell us that something is shifting and heading our way, right? We're going to look at the weakest elements of society. We're going to look at the weaker countries first. We're going to look at the weaker debt first. Now, there's an interesting story. Just economically, looking at the debt markets, what do we see? Triple C rated debt, that's the junkiest of the junk. These are companies that really have very poor prospects. Look at the rates on those, the yield rates spiking like crazy. Not just energy issues in the mix. They're in there for sure, but lots of weakness in the weaker companies at this point in time. So that tells me that our credit markets are in disarray. There's very poor liquidity in the debt markets. This could easily lead to some sort of a condition where we get what people experience as a market crash, right? Lots of very well-informed people, an increasing number of them are coming to that view, very worried about how this is all functioning, because guess what? We have a Potemkin market, meaning it's just an illusion of a village that has some sort of substance to it. Our markets are propped, cajoled, wheedled, manipulated overtly, covertly. It's just image management at this point in time. And that's fine, as far as it goes. It's good because it gives you and I time to become more resilient, more prepared. Now, this is something that we're also discussing at our website at Peak Prosperity all the time, which is to how do we become more prepared? And I stand before you as somebody who really believes that one of the most important things you can do is to become more emotionally resilient and prepared. Really challenging times are going to come. 2016 is going to be an extraordinary year of change. 2017 will as well. Folks, we're in a period of extraordinary change. And we're watching that happening, and we see the edges of it. We see this weird political landscape in the United States. We see this refugee crisis in Europe. We see the implosion of commodities dragging down all sorts of sectors elsewhere in the world. We're looking at China just cramming more and more credit into their markets because they don't know what else to do besides more of the same. And we're at the age where more of the same is giving us less and less. The age of diminishing returns. The age of diminishing returns is like a rocket that slowly loses steam and then it comes back to Earth. And that's the world that we live in right now. And so we're tracking that, doing the best we can to keep on top of the news, making sure that we're looking at as many positive things as we possibly can, because there's a lot of good things happening out there too. But let's be clear, the circumstances right now are really primed for something awkward to happen. And you should be ready for that. And you should be emotionally ready for that, because you could have all the stuff in the world, all the money. You could have a basement full of all the provisions you want. You could be the world's greatest prepper. And if you're not emotionally ready for what comes next, you might as well not be ready at all. So the emotional resilience is something that we are going to be covering in pretty good detail at the upcoming ROW seminar. Adam and my wife Becca and myself, once a year, we hold a seminar. And this is a really intimate gathering. There's only space for 70 or 80 people, depending on how we draw the line. There's really poor cell phone reception there at this really quirky, quaint, out in the woods kind of a place, which is great because it gives us the intimacy to really form a nice cohesive group, let people get to know each other, and really dive in on some subjects. And this year we're really going to be going into the emotional resiliency and social capital parts of this story, because those softer sides, those are really important. We can discuss numbers at the website all day long, but when it comes time to really understand what's going to be required between us as individuals to make this transition with grace and to thrive and with joy and beauty, that's where the softer side comes in. So if you have the opportunity, come join us at ROW. It's filling up fast. Would love to see you there. And we only offer this once a year right now, unfortunately. It's all we can really take the time out to do right now. So with that, subscribe if you haven't. I'll see you at the next update, and hope to see you at the site or at ROW this year.